I'm sure many of you will relate to the topic I'm going to speak about today. There's nothing worse than being told by your practitioner that there's nothing wrong with you, when instinctively you know that there is. And even worse is being told that it could be all in your head. Unfortunately, this is the reality for many people living with autoimmune conditions today. Symptoms can be really vague and very general. However, pain and debilitating fatigue are most common. It can be extremely difficult for people to understand what's happening for someone who's living with an autoimmune condition, because on the outside, physically, they seem fine. However, internally, their body is waging a war against itself. Basically, what's happening is that the person's own immune system is mounting an inappropriate response against its own cells, tissues, and organs. And this is what creates incredible inflammation and damage. There are over 80 known autoimmune conditions, some with no known cause and very difficult to treat. However, research does tell us that sometimes triggers can be related to the foods we're eating: high saturated fat, high sugar, and highly processed Western diets. But also another trigger for autoimmune can be a very stressful or emotionally stressful situation, or even a virus that can set off a series of events that can lead to an autoimmune condition. In many people, these triggers wouldn't be an issue and our bodies would respond appropriately. However, people with autoimmune conditions have a different response mechanism, and that's why when their bodies receive these signals, they have this incredible inflammatory response, and that can lead to symptoms that include usually severe pain and debilitating fatigue. Inflammation is usually the common driver for these symptoms, and many of my patients respond well to good anti-inflammatories. Anti-inflammatories can come in many different forms, but one of the best ones that I've found is turmeric. Turmeric has been around for thousands of years and used commonly in the Asian and Indian cultures because it contains active curcuminoids, and these curcuminoids are really important to down-regulate inflammation and calm the body's response mechanism so people can start to feel better sooner. The active component curcumin acts on various inflammation pathways, so it makes sense that it's also going to work on neuropathic pain, and that's where there's been some nerve fiber damage, and this creates oversensitivity in patients, especially those with autoimmune conditions and people suffering from fibromyalgia. So curcumin and turmeric can be so beneficial for these people to help down-regulate those inflammatory pathways and lessen their sensitivity. Another condition I see a lot of these days is fibromyalgia, or chronic fatigue syndrome. A lot of people think it falls into the autoimmune condition when in fact it doesn't. It just mimics symptoms that are very similar to rheumatoid arthritis, including pain and debilitating fatigue. However, it's also another condition that could benefit greatly from a fantastic anti-inflammatory like turmeric. The overwhelming feedback I get from patients who are taking turmeric for their fibromyalgia or autoimmune conditions is the disappearance of symptoms and this beautiful domino effect where other symptoms may start to disappear as well. So we're not only treating what they initially came in for, which is usually pain and fatigue, but we're starting to clear up other things like foggy head or lack of sleep. So all these wonderful side effects from taking something as fantastic as turmeric. Many people living with autoimmune conditions or fibromyalgia tend to suffer in silence for many years. Turmeric can be fantastic at reducing inflammation, getting you moving, improving your sleep, and general sense of well-being. Isn't that something worth trying today? If you haven't tried turmeric, I would strongly recommend you do, because it could be the first step in getting your quality of life back on track.